Hare Krishna. Hello and welcome to the Solo Shri podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Balaram Shakti Das, joined with my partner, co-host, Karina, joined as well with Bhakta Brian. And we are doing this podcast, reading the Krishna book uh, by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, purposed to follow the quest of finding our place in the world. And the only way to do that is approaching that as we are, with humble vulnerability and curiosity. And so we are a very humble podcast, just reading this book and finding its divine wisdom and approaching it with that beginner's mind, you could say, as much as we're able to. And the simple process of doing that, we find to be soul ashraya, the shelter of the soul. That when we can approach these sacred texts with this mood, then it will reveal itself to us and transform our consciousness just by hearing and discussing the topics within it with this mood of, again, curiosity, vulnerability, coming as we are. Yeah. And sharing as well my own just process with that, kind of searching for the words around this is itself transformative because, needing to get out of my own comfort zone. Right. So just by doing that, having a beginner's mind, it allows for grace to intercede. So we are approaching this book with that mood that we don't need to be expert or have things figured out. It's like the quest of the pursuit of the absolute truth with humility and reverence is itself the shelter, being open, as it were. Because otherwise, we close ourselves in the name of certitude and so many other things that are not actually shelter. We think that it's shelter, but it's just, you could say the ego. And life is inviting us to go one step deeper. So, this book will have many, many topics that will do that. So, yes, so that is who we are, what we're doing, and we're inviting listeners to listen, not only, but to inquire yourselves, to join us in this process, inquiry and discussion. And by no means are we experts in any of the topics that we do discuss. I tend to make very bold claims, I think. It's my way of furthering the conversation. I am always open to being corrected and expanding the conversation. So with that, let us dive in. So we begin our podcast after Balaram does his spiel with reciting the following mantras. Now, I realized when I looked at the last recording that this was like kind of small because it's not in full screen mode. There should be a very simple way to do that. Yes. Okay. All right. So Mangala which literally means the feet of auspiciousness. It's kind of cool. Invoking auspiciousness. So we'll chant together the first mantra and then run through the following. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Magyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarine Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Cool. So I had a really amazing string of reflection just before the call. Actually, kind of want to share something about that now. It's just coming up with the invocations because what we're doing is we're invoking a line of spirit. Line, it feels restrictive of the word there, but a lineage of spirit for sure. But we're invoking spirit, right? And this idea has been coalescing for me. I wrote like 2.5 pages. That everything on this human plane is wrought via possession by spirits. In other words, or namely, the devas, as the Bhagavad-gita terms them. And so it's like, it's really cool. You know, I love when we can take ideas that are laid out in the scripture, very like top down, matter of factly, and like realize them in our, practical lives. Because the Bhagavad Gita talks about how there's these higher beings, right, that are orchestrating. They're the administrators of universal affairs, right? And they all exist within your body, like within your own self, right? There's another teaching, and within the macrocosmos as well. And yeah, this thought has been coming together that it's literally like being possessed, not necessarily in a bad way, definitely in bad ways too. We can get possessed. And like there's so much to this. I was listening to a podcast that was interviewing this rabbi, and I needed to go back and take note of his name. Maybe I can put that in the description if I have it by then. But talking about Israel and Palestine and how each nation is ruled by what the Bible calls principalities. You familiar with that, Brian or Karina?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically like, from my understanding, a principality is like one of the, in biblical terms, like different demonic entities that like the devil gives power to control certain parts of Earth. Like basically his legionnaires, they say. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. It's like the deeper that we get into uh anyway, spiritual knowledge or these books, particularly the Bible in this case, the more clear that it becomes. It's like, okay, yeah. And I mean, I don't know, what do you think, Karina? It's like we experience this, especially like, you're an artist, and a lot of creatives will say, like, that wasn't me. Something else, flowed through me. And as soon as we take ownership, like, yeah, I did that, right? It's like, no, 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 and that creative spirit will withdraw due to your hubris, right? And so the Bhagavad-gita always also talks at great length about that. You know, don't try to claim proprietorship to your work, right? It's like it's flowing through you. And by working in that spirit of sacrifice, of making an offering of what you're doing, the devas, these higher beings, will work in cooperation for the benefit of humanity and for them, and everyone. Everything works together. Um, Whereas there is a force that works contrarily to that, which is the demonic, um, and that seeks to sort of like uh, impede, that flow of the creative, of the good, of God. Uh, and it's, yeah. So, um,
What were you saying about the Israel and Palestine that they're ruled by the
yeah, that he was saying principality. I'm not sure exactly the um was it taxonomy and categorization of the, there's like what, 9 categories of angels. Um, but I believe he was saying that principality is the spirit that possesses a nation, right? Um, like there's the word zeitgeist, spirit of the times. There's like a spirit that possesses a nation. Um, and different nations, it's like there's kind of a different spirit there, and you can get in touch with that. And this idea is that there are higher beings at war on a high, on that higher realm for dominion of the earth. So this is a very special place. Um, it's like all of the I was about to say keys, but it's almost like the key locks, like the doors to the all the mansions are here on earth, you know. Yeah, that's what the Bhagavad Gita says, that the earth is the field of activity, right? And so it's from here
Right.
that you can go to all of the other planes, um, and not otherwise is basically the idea. Because you can cultivate karma. It's the fields, you can sow seeds, and that's what karma is. You're like sowing a seed, and then you can reap it. So if you want to go to a heavenly planet, you come here in a human body and you sow seeds of sattva, and yeah, likewise seeds of darkness, and you can, go down. Um, so yeah, so there's a war, of consciousness, and we can become aware of this within our own self. And that is basically the work, is to become aware of what you're being possessed by, And if that word is weird for you, that's fine. It's like, what is the spirit that is present for you in each moment, right? And it's like, use whatever word works for you, but you need to get a sense of that. And there is definitely a force that is working in opposition to that, and that is the atheistic force, that is trying to convince you of this radical impersonalism, this radical material reductionist view that don't look at the veil. There is no veil, and there's definitely nothing behind the veil. What did I say? There's could be something behind it? No, there isn't even a veil, right? Um, it's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you saying there's nothing? No, anyway. Um, yeah, there's a veil and there's spirit behind it. It's like even the scientists agree that what we think of as the literal universe, as far as matter, is only a fraction. It's just the shell, and the real substance is somehow behind that, or it's energetic to it, right? So we need to get in touch with that, and we can allow the dark side, right, to take a hold, um, and carry you as it will, or you can make the heroic journey up the mountain and align your will with the Most High, right? And every religion is trying to teach that. Every spiritual science is trying to teach that in one way or another. And so this Mangala Charana is literally like directing your your heart's gaze toward the summit, the foot of the Mangala. And that's what we want in our life. We want Mangala, we want auspiciousness. It's like, yeah, your heart is, it's like Richard Rohr says, there is a part of you that has always said yes to God. Always. It's like, again, like every tradition has their term for that. Call it the self, the soul, the greater self, higher self. Um, what are some other terms, right? It's like you need to get in touch with that, and it is a surrender. It is a letting go. Not in a way that like disempowers you, but empowers you beyond your wildest dreams. Anyway, we could go on and on about that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's such a beautiful contextualization of the prayer in redirecting our focus because we do have this option in every moment to tune in and be aware of it or not. And how powerful is it to redirect our heart's gaze? I love how you described that to the Most High,
Right.
inviting all auspiciousness because, of course, we want auspiciousness to be everywhere in our lives. It's the most desirable thing.
Yeah. 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 And so this also is directly related to the text. Um, so I'm definitely excited to get into this. I also realized that the window with our pictures kind of covers up the text. Wasn't sure like where it would put it. And I don't know if I can make it smaller. I guess maybe that will work. Okay. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna read this first paragraph because it's a little complex, and so I'll kind of like pause with context as we go. So first of all, Nanda just asked, yeah, because upon this request, what was requested? Nanda requested Gargamuni, who is the family priest, to um accept Krishna and Balaram and perform reformatory processes or rituals, namely the name giving and astrological chart for them, which we discussed a little bit last time. So it gets a little complicated here, so I'll try to walk us through. Upon this request, Gargamuni replied, Vasudeva has sent me to see to the reformatory performances of these boys, especially Krishna's. But if I do so, it may incidentally appear that Krishna is the son of Devaki, since I am Vasudev's family priest. Okay, so a lot of characters here. And I think I misspoke a little bit. Yeah, because Gargamuni is not Nanda's family priest. Gargamuni is Vasudev's family priest. So here's the basic tree. You've got Nanda and Yashoda. I'll put them here. Goloka. This is to where we are right now in the text. And then Vasudeva and Devaki are here. So Vasudeva and Devaki are Krishna's biological, you could say, parents. He had his divine advent there across the river. And then he instructed Vasudeva to carry him to Gokul across the river and switch him out for the daughter that Yashoda had given birth to. Because where Vasudeva and Devaki were, is they were imprisoned by King Kamsa. Okay. So then Vasudeva has his family priest, and he sent the priest to Nandagram, to Gokula, to perform the rites for his son that he had exchanged with the daughter to protect the child, because he's the child of prophecy, right? He's the divine child. And so that's kind of what is tying in with what we were discussing earlier, is the protection of the divine child from the nefarious forces that would seek to destroy him, right? And thus destroy your chance of going up the mountain, like of, having that awakening, that spiritual empowerment, and effectively dominating the earth, right? Beating out any competition for spiritual dominance on the earth. So this is what was going on 5,000 years ago, according to these texts, was that the earth was being predominated by demonic kings who were exploiting, and they were persecuting saintly people, people that were seeking the empowerment of the all-good personality of Godhead. So Krishna comes to relieve the burden of the earth, and he's coming as a baby. So Vasudeva and Devaki are thinking, we have to protect the child. Child says, okay, fine, you send me to Nanda. And because it's totally covert, not even Nanda can be told this, because it would alert Kamsa, the evil king, that the child of prophecy is there. So there's a lot. Yeah, this paragraph gets a little complicated. Hopefully all of us can keep up. Okay. By his astrological calculation, Gargamuni could understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki. So Vasudeva didn't even tell Gargamuni, it appears. It appears that just by looking at the chart, he was like, oh, wow, actually, this is Devaki's son, not Yashoda's. Which Nana did not know. Indirectly, Gargamuni said that Krishna and Balaram were both sons of Vasudeva. How is this? Balaram was known as the son of Vasudeva because his mother, Rohini, was present there. So Balaram was transferred to the womb of Rohini. So in utero, he was transferred to Gokul. And then after birth, Krishna was transferred to Gokul. So everyone knows that Balaram is the son of Rohini, who is also a wife of Vasudeva. Okay, so there's Vasudeva, Devaki, and Rohini. Vasudeva has multiple wives, as was very common back then. And one of them, Rohini, actually all of them he sent out of Mathura to probably all of them were in Gokul. I'm not sure if they were all specifically there, but in that general region. Okay, so Vasudeva, Devaki, and then Rohini is here, and then Nanda and Yashoda, who are cousins, like cousin brothers, they're also there. And so Vasudeva tells Nanda, like, take care of my wife, whatever wives are there. And then Rohini has a son, so it's like, yeah, take care of Balaram. And then Yashoda has Krishna, as she thinks, but actually it's Vasudeva's child. So they both know that Balaram is Vasudeva's son. They don't know that Krishna is also his son. And okay, Gargamuni indirectly disclosed the fact that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Gargamuni also warned Nanda Maharaj that if he would perform the reformatory ceremony, then Kamsa, who was naturally very sinful, would understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. According to astrological calculation, Devaki could not have a female child. So after they switched Krishna and Subhadra, Yashoda has Krishna and Devaki has the girl. But according to the astrological calculation, Devaki can't have female children. So if you look at the chart, it's like there's something amiss here, right? Yeah, and everyone thought that the eighth child of Devaki was female. So that was after they did the covert switch. They're like, oh, it's a daughter. It's not. It can't be the child of prophecy. So in this way, Gargamuni intimated to Nanda Maharaj that the female child was born of Yashoda and Krishna was born of Devaki, and they were exchanged. Also, the female child, Durga, Subhadra, also, the goddess, had informed Kamsa that the child who would kill him was already born somewhere else. So Kamsa went to kill the child. Devaki was pleading, no, it's not a boy. The prophecy said a boy would kill you. All right, divine son. But he's like, nope, not taking any chances, grabs the girl, is about to smash her against the rocks, and she slips out of his hand, assumes her eight-armed form as the divine goddess, and rebukes him and tells him that that the child of prophecy has already taken birth. So Gargamuni states, if I gave your child a name and he fulfills the prophecy of the female child to Kamsa, if this boy starts doing the things that the goddess told Kamsa, then it may be that the sinful demon will come and kill this child also after the name-giving ceremony. But I do not want to become responsible for all these future calamities. Okay. Are we all following?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then, on hearing the words of Gargamuni, Nanda Maharaj said, if there is such danger, then it is better not to plan any gorgeous name-giving ceremony. It would be better for you to simply chant the Vedic hymns and perform the purificatory process. We belong to the twice-born caste, and I am taking this opportunity of your presence. So please perform the name-giving ceremony without external pomp. Nanda Maharaj wanted to keep the name-giving ceremony as a secret and yet take advantage of Gargamuni's performing the ceremony. So he's like, look, you're an exalted personality. You already came all the way out here. Why don't you just do the rites in a simple, way, so it doesn't, spread, uh, unnecessary, attention. Okay. So what does this remind you of? You probably already have been thinking this. What other story? We've discussed it on the show, but covert birth of a divine personality.
Secret birth in the barn of Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yeah. Some kind of stable, where Jesus Christ was born out of fear of King Herod. So it's pretty uncanny how parallel, uh, the stories are. And oh, kitty. Um, so yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that, and it seems, um, pretty clear. The idea of it is on the spiritual path, the um, the spirit of goodness, of truth, of love comes to us in a form that is very um, innocent and even vulnerable. And um, it's within this global context of warfare. And so there's a certain protection that has to occur around that, right? Uh, what do you what do you guys think about that?
Hmm. Well, it seems like when the Lord incarnates, that sort of all these well, yeah, I mean, it actually is the case. Like a lot of different prophecies are fulfilled, and a lot of people and the demonic entities that rule over these nations, they live in fear and they rule through fear and they let it rule them. And they, a lot of them, they don't even really want to believe that God could be manifesting at that time. And they don't, some people, they know it's true and they're afraid, of what might happen in the world if these prophecies are fulfilled because of how huge of an event it is. But so it can cause a lot of different chaos, and a lot of different sort of quarrels amongst these different groups of people. But, in the end result, what's meant to happen always ends up happening. And, you know, the divine will always sees its way through the hearts of humans. So yeah, that's what came to mind seeing this story here.
Yeah, well said. Um, just reflecting on that, it's like material energy wants to keep spirit down, but God's coming here to remind us that we're cared for, and He's got us.
Yeah, no matter what happens, it's like that is the perennial story that the good always triumphs. And um even still, we have a choice whether we want to participate in that or not. Basically, it's like what side of the battlefield are you going to fall on? Right? That's sort of like the central um theme, if you will, in which the Bhagavad-gita is embedded, right? It's the battlefield of karma-ksetra. Um, sort of like the field of destiny, if you will. Um, where are you going to align yourself? And I mean, that's a whole different discussion. But it really comes down to like, how are you responding to your internal, um, you know, moral or spiritual navigation system, if you will, right? Uh, that we can either choose to align um, with that higher spirit and again allow it to work through us, or it's not like it won't work. It's not like it's all on us. Um, it'll just flow through someone else, right? Uh, and then yeah, and we can choose in that way for a another spirit to flow through us. And so yeah, it's like the whole work is around um, uprooting those seeds that have been planted um, that are not saying yes to that higher spirit and protecting that very vulnerable um, sprouting of divine love in our heart from maleficent forces that are manifesting within and without in our life. Yeah. Any other thoughts, conversation?
It's awesome that you're saying that we always have a choice. What are we redirecting ourselves towards?
Yeah. Yeah, every moment, you know, we're confronted with so many things, thoughts, feelings, circumstances, and the choice really boils down to how am I choosing to perceive and respond to this? Is this like, do I find myself within the flow of something greater? Or is this spiraling out of control? Right. And there is totally a spirit that totally possesses us. Not saying it possesses us totally, but it certainly is possessing us. Um, and that is where, that is the source of those thoughts, you know, those intrusive thoughts that seek to convince us that everything is not okay. There is not a supreme God, working good. You gotta, you know, grab back a hold of the control, you know, and just listen to me, right? So many things. Um, and so it's a choice to just take that at face value or to investigate that. It's like, well, what's going on, under the surface here, right? Uh, So, yeah. Yeah, so that's the spiritual path, meditation, yoga, prayer. It's all very active work to um, bring us back into that flow uh, of allowing it to be done unto you, right? Allowing the Spirit to move through you uh, and to sort of co-create in that way. Beauty and truth and love. Okay, I feel like we maybe have belabored this, so jump back to the text. Okay. When Gargamuni was so eagerly requested by Nanda Maharaj, instructive point there. We have to be eager. You know, the spiritual master, Gargamuni is representing the spiritual master, right? So, um, wherever spiritual wisdom is presenting itself in your life, and Karina, you've been talking to me about this the last week or so, recalling your original eagerness coming to the spiritual path and wanting to rekindle um, that spirit, if you will, of eagerness. And that's also, yeah, I use the word spirit, um, particularly because the teachings of Bhakti Yoga say that that also comes from God. But it is totally within our willpower to nurture that spark, right? So so Gargamuni is coming and he's bearing the fire of spiritual awakening, you could say, Krishna consciousness. And Nanda is saying, yes, please, um, you know, do the thing. So, being so eagerly requested, he performed the name-giving ceremony as secretly as possible in the cowshed of Nanda Maharaj. He informed Nanda Maharaj that the son of Rohini would be very pleasing to his family members and relatives, and therefore would be called Rama. In the future, he would be extraordinarily strong, and therefore would be called Baladeva. Gargamuni said further, because your family and the family of the Yadus are so intimately connected and attracted, his name will also be Sankarshan. This means that Gargamuni awarded 3 names to the son of Rohini, namely Balaram, Sankarshan, and Baladev. But he carefully did not disclose the fact that Balaram had also appeared in the womb of Devaki and was subsequently transferred to the womb of Rohini. Krishna and Balaram are real brothers, being originally sons of Devaki. Okay. Gargamuni then informed, actually, do you want to read? Karina? Brian?
Yeah, I'll read.
We're going to switch over. Yeah, please.
Gar yeah. Gargamuni then informed Nanda Maharaj, as far as your son is concerned, this child has taken different bodily complexions in different yugas, millennia. First of all, he assumed the color white, then the color red, and then the color yellow, and now he has assumed the color black. Besides that, he was formerly the son of Vasudev. Therefore, his name should be Vasudev as well as Krishna. Some people will call him Krishna, and some will call him Vasudeva. But one thing you must know, this son has had many, many other names and activities due to his different pastimes.
Oh,
Shall I continue?
yeah, maybe just read. Yeah.
Gargamuni further hinted to Nanda Maharaj that his son would also be called Giridhari because of his uncommon pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill. Since Gargamuni was an astrologer, he could understand everything past and future. And thus he said, I know everything about his activities and names, but others do not know. This child will be very pleasing to all the cowherd men and cows, being very popular in Vrindavan. He will be the cause of all good fortune for you. Because of his presence, you will overcome all kinds of material calamities despite opposing elements.
So here are the names. And yeah, seems like he's pretty directly saying that, well, he's not directly saying that he's an avatar, but it's like about as close as you can get to an avatar. Um, yeah, the different colors definitely intrigue me. Um, do you have any ideas around that, Karina? Because we know that they're relate or they're correspondent with the different yugas. Right? So yeah, he's saying here different yugas or millennia. Um, so Satya Yuga, he was a yeah, he took a white form, and these are referring to different avatar incarnations of Krishna. Then red, then yellow. So I honestly don't know what incarnations these are referring to. Okay, you guys don't know either. That's okay. We
I
know that,
cannot remember.
well, yeah, I mean, he does it. He's had many, many other names and activities. Um, but yeah, just these four different colors. It's also I just find interesting that these are the same colors of the Lakota Wheel of Life. And so it seems to have this universal indication of universality, or well, it's redundant, but of like the totality of the cosmos. And so the four colors of the medicine wheel represent the four seasons, and the four stations or stages of life, and definitely the four yugas would also map onto that. Um, so seems like those colors, are there if you go deep enough into the tree of life, into the root of your being, you'll see them presumably. Um, okay. Any other thoughts? You guys are quiet tonight.
Find it amazing that Gargamuni could see all of his pastimes. And
Yeah.
I'm like wondering if he's holding back um his perception. Like if he could see all his activities, he must be able to perceive that Krishna is the supreme personality. But all he says is he will be the cause of all good fortune and that you will overcome all kinds of material calamities despite opposing elements. So how much comfort is he providing for them, knowing that, all of these people are trying to kill Krishna and so many bad things are happening to the Brahmanas, but Gargamuni is telling them in this moment that this Krishna will um, alleviate all of those worries.
Yeah, he most certainly is holding back, and I feel like further paragraphs will state that, if not like already. Um, that yeah, he knows he's God, but in order to protect the child, um, which really means like protecting Nanda and the residents there. He's trying to keep it covert. Um, and it's also, yeah, it's just like this is what is necessary for the Leela to unfold, right? Krishna doesn't want Garga to tell them that he's God because Krishna doesn't want them to know that he's God because he wants the residents of Vrindavan to exchange that very sweet paternal affection with him in his youth. Um, okay, I forgot again to mark the time we started. Um, nice if
I think we
this
have
had a way to show us.
another 5 to 7 minutes.
Maybe another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll read one more paragraph because it seems like it's following with this thread. So, Brian, you wanna?
Sure. Gargamuni continued to say, "My dear king of Raja, in his previous births this child many times protected righteous persons from the hands of rogues and thieves whenever there was a political disruption. Your child is so powerful that anyone who will become a devotee of your boy will never be troubled by enemies. Just as demigods are always protected by Lord Vishnu, the devotees of your child will always be protected by Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This child will grow in power, beauty, opulence, and everything. On the level of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, I would advise that you protect him very carefully so that he may grow without disturbance." In other words, Gargamuni informed Nanda Maharaj that because Nanda was a great devotee of Lord Narayana, the Lord had given Nanda a son equal to himself. At the same time, Gargamuni indicated that this son would be disturbed by so many demons and that Nanda should therefore be careful and protect him. In this way, Gargamuni convinced Nanda Maharaj that Narayana himself had become his son. In various ways, he described the transcendental qualities of his son. After giving this information, Gargamuni returned to his home. Nanda Maharaj began to think of himself as the most fortunate person, and he was very satisfied to receive such a benediction in this way.
Yeah. So he's telling him it's on the level of Narayana, but it's yeah, it Prabhupada is explaining he's sort of like indirectly telling him your son is actually God, but he's speaking in a way that is sort of like um, you know, congenial for public discourse, right? He's saying he's as good as God, um, in terms of his qualities. Uh, but it would be inappropriate for him to say that this is literally Narayana manifest in your home. But yeah, Nanda is naturally thinking himself quite a lucky guy. Okay, so yeah, we'll stop here. Uh, yeah, just thinking how powerful it can be to, put ourselves in the shoes of these characters as we're hearing these stories and just trying to imagine what he must have been feeling, you know.
So, so Prabhupada says Nanda Maharaj went away convinced that his son was actually Narayan. So, yeah, imagine like how absolutely humbling that would be. Like, okay, God is here. I'm the most fortunate person, and then like how can I really show up to
Mm.
support and nurture and protect him. Also very exciting, incredible, because so many pastimes were about to unfold and cause everyone a lot of stress, but also a lot of joy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Lord of his life named um Vasudev here. Um I'm sorry, named Narayana. Vasudev also named Narayana. Um but he's a Vaishnava, he's a worshiper of the Supreme Lord, and to hear, it's like every devotee's desire is for the Lord to make himself personally known, in their life. And it's almost like there's effectively no difference for Gargamuni saying like this is actually God and like he's on the same level, um, because of this understanding of the Paramatma, that God is in everyone's heart, and we're always relating to God through his energy, right? So when I'm relating with you and with you, you're somehow manifesting Krishna for me, and I get to experience Krishna's qualities the more that we sort of aid each other in evoking those qualities, right? So it's like Lord Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, right? So Gargamuni is saying, if you've seen Krishna, you've seen the Father, right? Same. Um, However, that being said, there also is a difference, of the Lord's personal Bhagavan feature, that it's not just experiencing Krishna sort of indirectly or like through a window, you could say, like to each other. It's like we're seeing God through a window, you know, of that soul. And that soul we're seeing through the window of their eyes, right? As the phrase goes, through their filters of ego and so forth. Um, but when Krishna appears directly, it's like neither is there a filter nor is there a window. You know, that's the Supreme Lord himself. Um, and he is totally free to do that. Um, yeah, because that's what he wants. All right, any final thoughts? Brian's looking super pensive.
It's just it's just amazing, especially just the way you worded it, like any effort, you know, to learn about Krishna, to discuss Krishna, to, meditate on him, to be in uh um like to be in satsang, like with people that are doing the same thing. It all, results in evoking his energies, and then, just within that action, you're actually like you're making contact with Krishna, and you get to feel his presence, and doing that consistently, with earnestness for a long time, you end up accomplishing the goal of self-realization. And it's just beautiful that the Lord has given us the ability to do that here on the earth.
Wow.
And it's spectacular. And it's really, we're very fortunate to be able to do that, to be able to remember him all the time, and all we have to do is just dedicate ourselves and serve him humbly, you know.
Yeah, it feels like that last passage is like a promise to the faithful that if you stay diligent, like you're saying, that eventually we'll have the same experience that Nanda is having right now. It's like yes, we made it. Like Krishna's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's availing himself to us.
I like the point, Balaram, about how we can show up as that for each other, or like we can personally become a window to God, and then we can tune our vision to see God in another person. And the question came up, like, how can we do that? Like, how can we really um, behave in that way? I think it's through doing exactly what we're doing is, and like Brian just said, discussing the Lord's pastimes and remembering Him and conversing about it and letting our relationships be a place where God can be glorified. So we're continually bringing the attention back to Him and continually, focusing the gaze of the heart back on what's most auspicious. So thank you for like speaking to that, Bailey.
Of
Wonderful.
course.
Jai, yes, this is the science of Bhakti Yoga, attuning to the Supreme. So thank you for joining us, those of you who have watched to the end, or to the middle, or the beginning. Much appreciated too for your support. Um, even if not made physically manifest, uh, most important support is spiritual, as yeah, Brian was intimating there, that we're supporting each other in this work, and that's what's so wonderful about the Sankirtan movement, which is um, the uh, glorification of the Lord, the attuning to the glory of God, as Krinos was saying there, collectively, that by simply the movement of the heart, um, there is a exponential factor there when it's together, and we'll see that over and over again um, here. So yeah, just by tuning in, you're helping all of us, and we're helping each other on the path. So with that spirit, we will participate directly in the chanting of the Maha Mantra for that exponential benefit of all of us as a principal limb of Sankirtan Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Jai. Thank you again. We'll see you next week. Haribol.
Hare Bo.
Haribo!